So I need this clay to be softer. Okay, so this is how you soften clay. Warm water, dribbled in here. You want this to be nice and soft. It is important to wedge the clay well so that it doesn't explode later. And when you do this, like having more holes in here, like funkiness, like a honeycomb is good because it like holds the water inside of the spaces. Okay, so you want to make sure that it's like pretty soft before you use it. This clay is still a little bit hard, right? To pass this around, that's too hard to build with. You'd want it to be softer than that when you build.
Maybe.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
All right, welcome students. This is a tutorial for the mask. We are building the flat face, that's what it's titled here. And I'm gonna go through the building stages for here. The slab base, that's a 1/2 inch thick, has already been rolled out. This clay has been made super soft through the tutorial previous to this here. You're gonna see me make hills and valleys for bone structure. That would happen on one day. The next day, that's when you make the facial features, and you'll see that later on in this video. Third day is when you trim and smooth. So this project can be done easily in 3 days. We're gonna be wanting to make lifelike features in the correct place. And when we're done trimming and smoothing, we're gonna make sure it has a place cut out on the back so we can actually hang it on the wall. That is our form and function. The learning target is I can create a 3-dimensional visual aesthetic through sunken relief and sculptural hand building. Sunken relief is when things go down and deep, and that's part of the hills and valleys that I'm gonna be talking about. All right, so I'm gonna set this on my large bat, bring it over to my workspace here, and I wanna talk about the tools that we have. We've got a scoring grid and a wooden modeling tool, water. We're gonna be using this knife, the clay knife, for just a little bit of time, and then it comes back to our community supplies. Don't leave this one at your spot because we only have a few of them. And this works way better than a needle tool. This is much stronger and thicker. It'll do a really good job cutting your clay. And so you're gonna wanna grab one of the blue mask templates, set it down, and I'm gonna put this towards the top of my clay because all the extra clay here I'm gonna use for my features and the hills and valleys later. So I'm gonna need that. This extra clay, as I said, we will be using. So you want to get it back into a nice ball before we do anything else. Otherwise, it'll start to dry out. And one of the most important things for this project is that you've got pretty soft clay. Done with the mask template, this can go back to community space so someone else can use it. All right. So, first thing I want to do here is find the middle. So I'm going to draw a line that goes mostly through the middle here and through here, and that right there is the third, where the in between the eyes would fit. So we're just gonna put the eyes, just kind of sketch them out like that. That's where the eyeballs are gonna go, okay? Above and below that middle line. And it looks like there's a huge forehead, but later it will make sense. It'll kind of fit in the line a little bit more. How long the nose is gonna be, where the mouth is gonna be, and the chin. So right now, this is just kind of a general placement. All right, first task is to build the hills and valleys. So this is day one. We start with a chunk of clay, and with this project, you get to do a lot of like slapping the clay around. We wanna do that. It helps the clay kind of settle in and not explode or crack later. So this is about the size. You can see this is how big it is in my hand here. And I'm gonna flatten it on the back side. You're gonna slip and score the area, and I'm making the forehead raise up. So I'm slipping and scoring, and when you slip and score, you wanna do that more than the actual space that this would fit. So see how my scoring goes a lot larger around it? That's what we want. On the back side here, also slip and score. This is like Velcro that attaches your clay to each other. And you want it to be pretty shiny right here. If not, it needs a little bit extra water. You don't want it to be dripping with water because then the water will actually prevent the clay from connecting to itself. So you want to get the just right amount. Put some pressure on it for about 10 seconds. Okay. Now I'm going to use the wooden modeling tool, and I'm going to take the clay and I'm just going to scoot it around on all sides. Okay. So it's been attached. That's part of why we do that slip-and scoring in other places. All right, now if you look at the forehead, at a profile view, you're looking straight on it this way. That does not look like a forehead. We're going to be using our hands to kind of whack it into shape. So I'm whacking the sides in. Smooth out some more stuff if you need to. I like to move my project around. It helps kind of just be able to get the right angle. This is going to have clay attached to it later. That's going to go on top of what we see here with all of the hills and valleys we're going to do. So right now, don't think about sculpting actual facial features. You notice the sound isn't too loud, but it does make a little bit of a sound. And it definitely bumps the table. So if you have students working on something else that requires detail, they should not be at your table, or you should not be at their table. Okay, forehead now. It's a gradual slope. If you're a little person on a skiing down this slope, it'd be pretty easy to be able to ski down that. Next, cheekbones. And for cheekbones, we're going to use 2 balls of clay that are about the size of a tangerine. Bigger than a golf ball. And hand wedging, when you take a bunch of pieces of clay together and just smack them together, you want to hand wedge them. So I'm just taking this and just scooting it. I'm not folding the pieces over on top of each other. That will create more air pockets. I'm just rotating it and just that little bit of boom, 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 like that. Okay. So to make it into shape, you want it to be kind of like an egg. And an egg is skinnier on one end. Just like how we roll coils and make a little pickle. That's kind of what we want to do here. So an egg shape. Shape first, and round it and turn it into that egg. The skinny part is the part that goes next to the nose. The other way, okay, like that. So it's the fat side out here, skinny side towards the nose. I'm going to flatten both sides here. That's the side that's going to be slipped and scored. I've got my scoring whip here. Again, I'm paying attention to how much water I have here. I don't want too much, don't want too little. Gotta find the just right Goldilocks amount. If you're familiar with that story. And I like to do both cheekbones at the same time. Faces are symmetrical. And it's easiest to keep it symmetrical if you're doing both at the same time. All right. Pressure. If you get pieces of dry clay, you want to get those off. Okay, then plastic modeling tool. Sweeten that clay down and around. Now it just looks so sloppy and messy, right? That's okay, we're gonna whack it into shape. I'm using this part of my hand here to go next to where the eyeball is at, because we have an indentation in that part of our face. So I'm going back and forth between the wooden modeling tool and the cheekbones angled down just slightly. So I'm gonna push this side up a little bit. And then push this side up a little bit. Okay. Now I'm gonna indent for the eye sockets. So we've built on top of clay, we've gone up. Now we're gonna push in for the eye sockets. And I'm gonna use my knuckles for that. And for this, you wanna stand up. So at first, the eye sockets look super, super messy. As I mentioned before, everything is gonna have clay inside of it, or on top of it, I should say, not inside, on top. And the indentation that goes down on the side. Starting to come together now. I'm going to turn it upside down so I can look at this bottom part of the cheekbone here. This is a much steeper drop than here. Again, if you're skiing, this would be easy. This would be like crazy. You couldn't climb up that. Frequently lift and look at eye level so you can see if they're the same height. Pick it up, turn it around. Okay. So we're kind of working our way down the face. Because this clay is so soft, you can move it later to change facial features and expressions. All of that happens later. Right now, it's just the focus on the hills and valleys. If your clay starts to come off the side too much, you can just use this tool to kind of scrape some of that off. There we go, that looks much better. All right, now to the bottom part of the face. So we're gonna come in here, and this is gonna extend. This is where I cut the line, but the clay is gonna end up moving down for the chin. I need to build the chin space. It's even gradual slope here. See how easy it is to change the hills and valleys once all the clay is connected? This is great soft clay that we have. All right, for the chin, like a golf ball size. Flatten, or a ping pong ball. Flatten the backside, slip and score. Slip and score, you want to go over it enough times that it actually turns into slip. If I wipe my finger across this, I should get slip. This should like scrape off slip. So this needs a little bit more on it. And just like before, we slip and score wider than where it's going to actually fit. Sometimes I like to take this and just scrape off that slip there, get that back on here. And then make sure it has that cool texture in it. Pull this in place down here for the chin. And that fits right on the edge here. Okay. And I'm ready to start to smooth this down. You want to make sure to do all sides as well. That gets that clay connected so that you can then whack it around without it folding over on itself and making more air pockets. Again, if your clay starts to move or get out too much, you can just cut the side. That clay for later. This is a super pointy chin. I'm gonna move it in a little bit. So if your chin's too long, look how easy it is to change. So on day one, before you wrap up the clay, you want to make sure that you don't have any little pieces like this around and that it's all even. Okay. And the last thing we're going to do is eyebrow ridges. So eyebrow ridges, you want to make like a caterpillar, like one of those like fluffy caterpillars, monarch butterflies. Eyebrows go up even higher than the eyebrows. Just like with coils, you want to take the end and tap it occasionally. And bend it just a little bit. That will be one eyebrow ridge. I do want them to be the same size, and I didn't measure them the same size. Look how different they are. I'm going to cut that one down so it matches. Okay, flatten the back side. So it's like kind of curved, flatten the back side. Curved, flatten the back side. Now I'm ready to slip and score. If you're working at a table where everybody is working on the mask, you would only need one bowl of water and one of these. Each person would need their own wooden modeling tool because you use it quite frequently. So that's what I would recommend. If you're really good at sharing, you could probably share. So pressure. I slip and score that one. I did. I'm gonna do it again just because I couldn't remember if I did or not. Pull that into place. And right now, even without it smoothing it down and connecting the clay, it's kind of hard to pull this off. Like it's on there pretty hard. That scoring worked well. Okay. I'm gonna flip this upside down. And from the back side, I'm gonna smooth this down. This is gonna be a gradual slope. Flat in the middle here, but then the brows are up on the side. Now I'm going to turn around this way. Okay. And down here, I'm just going to go kind of straight down. We're going to be putting eyelids on top of this, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like right now. But what you do need to have is all the bumps out, and we don't want any crispy things. You may want to be like, oh, that looks cool. It's like, yeah, that looks really cool. You can see part of a facial feature starting to happen. And maybe, oh, they're starting to get kind of concerned. They're starting to get angry, right? But we don't want to do that sort of thing yet. We would just want to keep it open and neutral, like just bones only. And you can smack with just your fingers or with this part of your palm or down here, depending upon the placement here of, depending upon the size of what you're squishing. So here, again, on the inside, just gonna move that straight down. And if your eye sockets aren't deep enough, this is where you wanna make sure they're actually deep enough. Yep, got some dry clay in there. It's a good idea to wash your hands frequently because the dry clay on here, if it gets in here, it can explode or have it crack later. And this particular project is more susceptible to cracking and exploding in the kiln than other things that we work on. That's part of why we use really soft clay, and it's part of why we want to make sure to not get any dry bits of clay in here as well. Okay. Indentation on the side. Got the cheekbones up here in this slow, gradual slide down. Got the chin here going on. Last, I'm just going to smooth this out, and if you have a sponge, you can take a sponge and smooth it out as well, just so that there's no marks, no like little lines left. And notice this is a dry sponge. Didn't get it wet. I got a little bit extra to kind of cut off from the side over here because it got a little thin. I'm just going to cut a little bit there. Okay. As I'm looking at this, I'm kind of evening it out a little bit because I noticed it was lopsided. I didn't see it from the front way, but when I tilted it upside down, I started to see it. So this is now ready to wrap up. To do that, I'm gonna get wet paper towels, like dripping, soaking wet paper towels, and put them all over this and get all the air bubbles out by touching it and patting it onto my clay. And I'm gonna wrap it up inside of plastic, and I'm done with day one. And that's it.